Warning: the following content has spoilers and a high content of curiosities about Star Wars Rogue One. For this film, the studio had to decide between two actors for the role of Chirrut. On the one hand, they had Donnie Yen, and on the other was Jet Li. They chose Donnie Yen because his wage was $4 million, while Jet Li asked for a wage of $10 million. If Yen had not accepted the role of Chirrut, director Gareth Edwards would have offered the role to Baze. This blind character, Guardian of the Wills, was based on Zatoichi, the main character of a samurai movie. In this film, we are showed for the first time the fortress of Darth Vader. Resembling a castle built on top of an active volcano, this concept was based on an unused design by Ralph McQuarrie. It has been commented that utilized in the costume design were some of the costumes from the older movies, Star Wars A New Hope from 1977 and The Empire Strikes Back from 1980. The events that we see at the beginning of the film developed 16 years before the Star Wars of 1977. The majority of Rogue One's plot happens only a few days before A New Hope, and the end just hours before the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4. This is also the first movie where we don't see the classic crawling text to introduce the beginning of the film. The actress Genevieve O'Reilly came back to play her role as Mon Mothma, as she participated on Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith in 2005. If you remember, Cassian talks about the Wills to Jyn, saying that they were very wise beings, and they narrate the story of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's said that this is the race that Yoda belongs to, but it's not confirmed. It's certain in the future films they'll take back this history, or they'll give us more information about it. James Earl Jones is an actor who came back for the Star Wars films as the Darth Vader voice. His last participation was in the 2005 film Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The blue milk is seen again in this film in the kitchen of Jyn Erso, a reference to the original 1977 film where we see it too in the kitchen of Aunt Beru. For this moment, Disney has no intention of letting a year go by without a Star Wars movie, so in 2018 we will have Han Solo, A Star Wars Story. Writing the script proved to be a headache. In the beginning, John Knoll, the specialist on visual effects of various Star Wars films, proposed to Kathleen Kennedy the idea of realizing a history as we saw in this film. Immediately, Disney hired Gary Whitta for the first script. He did an excellent job, but thinking that the story still needed something, Disney calls Chris Weitz, who wrote the script for The Golden Compass and the 2015 Cinderella. He finished the script for Star Wars Rogue One, but at the end it didn't satisfy Disney, so they hired Christopher McQuarrie, who is the director of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. McQuarrie polished the script that Chris Weitz created, giving the last brushstrokes, and that's the final script that they used for Rogue One. Star Wars Episode 8 director Rian Johnson did a cameo in Rogue One as one of the Death Star operators. When they activate the beam, you can see him next to Ram Bergman, who is the producer of Star Wars Episode 8. Another actor was Peter Cushing, who was computer-generated in his role of Grand Moff Tarkin, using the movement capture, making the facial generation of special effects more incredible. Some people who went to the movie who aren't Star Wars fans didn't realize his character was created by CGI. He passed away in 1994 from cancer. A dark saber? When Jyn and Cassian are on the Great Database, Jyn mentions the dark saber in the search results, which was the legendary saber that took the lives of hundreds of Jedi. This weapon was used by the Mandalorians, as we can see in the animated TV shows Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. A little nod to Star Wars Return of the Jedi can be seen on the Cave of Saw Gerrera. The soldiers are looking at a female TWI'LEK dancer who was a slave in the 1983 film Star Wars Episode VI: Return of the Jedi. The Imperial android C-2B5 is also seen in this movie. In the scene where Jyn and Cassian find Saw's fortress, we can see Gerrera, a chess game seen in the original 1977 film and in the 2015 film. This is an older version of Gerrera, since it's made of handmade figures instead of a hologram. "I've got a bad feeling about this" is a catchphrase often repeated in the Star Wars saga, and Rogue One couldn't be the exception. When Cassian, Jyn, and K2SO are in the elevator, the android says the phrase, although his teammates tell him to shut up, because every time this phrase is pronounced in the Star Wars universe, something bad happens. Alan Tudyk, the actor who played the android K2SO, improvised the slap that he gave actor Diego Luna, who plays Cassian. Director Gareth Edwards gave a lot of liberty to the actors to utilize improvisation in the film. The actor who played C-3PO, Anthony Daniels, confessed that he felt a little angry towards the actor of the droid K2SO, Alan Tudyk. Tudyk had more comfort playing his character with a special suit capturing his movement, while Daniels had to suffer injuries and hours of filming in the metallic C-3PO suit. He was so angry, Anthony Daniels cursed Alan Tudyk, who replied jokingly with a "fuck you." This is not the first job for Alan Tudyk with movement capture technology. He also was Sonny the Robot in the film Robot of 2004. The name for the character Jyn Erso was a reference to Jan Ors, a character in the video game Star Wars Dark Forces, whose objective it is to retrieve the Death Star blueprints. The character of Saw Gerrera is the third character brought from the Star Wars video games to a movie. Boba Fett was the first, whose first real appearance was on the Star Wars Holiday Special in 1978. Then General Grievous from the series Star Wars: The Clone Wars from 2003. In the scene where Jyn and Cassian walk through the streets of Jeddah, she hits the shoulder of another man who angrily says to her to watch her step. These two characters are Dr. Ivanzan and Ponda Baba, who we saw in Star Wars Episode 4, when Obi-Wan Kenobi cuts Ponda Baba's arm off for harassing Luke.
On the walls of the Cave of Saw Gerrera, we can see figures of monsters, which are references to the films directed by director Gareth Edwards, as the Godzilla movie of 2014.
Actresses Tatiana Maslany, Rooney Mara, and Kate Mara all auditioned for the role of Jyn Erso, but in the end it was Felicity Jones who got the role. Also, actors including Aaron Paul, Edgar Ramirez, and Sam Claflin were taken into consideration for the role of Cassian Andor, but for some reason, director Gareth Edwards wanted Diego Luna in the movie, which the Mexican-born actor found confusing. In this film was shown for the first time the action from inside the cabin when jumping to hyperspace since the 1983 film. Also seen in The Force Awakens trailer, but not utilized in a Star Wars movie till this film. In the scene where they're escaping from the city, Captain Cassian says the phrase "punch it" to his co-pilot K2SO, which is a reference to Han Solo, who tells his co-pilot the phrase "punch it, Chewie." As indicated in the series Clone Wars and Rebels, the color of a kyber crystal determines the power light of the saber. In Rogue One, we can see that Jyn's crystal is white, which makes it extremely rare. The only other character that had a white saber is Ahsoka Tano in the animated series. The idea of kyber crystals arose in Alan Dean Foster's novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia, died just a week after the premiere of Rogue One. The actress suffered a heart attack while on a flight from London to Los Angeles on December 27, 2016. She died in the UCLA Medical Center. A day later, on December 28th, her mother, actress Debbie Reynolds, while preparing her daughter's funeral, suffered a fatal stroke. In this film, we are able to see a young Carrie Fisher with a computer-generated Princess Leia. In Rogue One, we see a brief appearance of the androids R2-D2 and C-3PO. This makes actor Anthony Daniels the only actor who has appeared in every Star Wars movie produced so far as C-3PO. Jyn's father, Jyn Erso, is inspired by theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, the so-called father of the atomic bomb. Both men lived with the guilt of building a weapon of mass destruction. In the original script, the characters Jyn and Cassian managed to escape and survive at the end of the film, but director Gareth Edwards expressed to Disney that they all died. He thought that his idea would not be accepted because it is Disney, but to his surprise, Kathleen Kennedy, Disney's executive, accepted and gave permission for all the characters to die in this movie. It was planned in the final scene that Darth Vader was the person in charge of murdering Jyn and Cassian, but it was thought that it would be too dark, so we only see Darth Vader killing a random group of rebels. The planet from which Jyn is rescued is called Wobani, which is an anagram for Obi-Wan. K2SO is the first android to commit suicide in a Star Wars movie. On the other hand, this is the first Star Wars movie where no main character uses a lightsaber, except for the end when Darth Vader finally makes use of his saber. Without a doubt, it would have been amazing to see Chirrut using a saber in his battle scenes. Rogue One director Gareth Edwards made a cameo at the end as the rebel in charge of expelling the Tantive 4. The plans for the Death Star are located in an installation on the planet Scarif. The name Scarif, in fact, refers to an acronym SCIF, SCIF, which is a secure installation used to store confidential or classified data. For example, President Barack Obama used these facilities to talk on safe phones after the 2016 Brussels bombing. Finally, many do not know why it was Diego Luna who was cast in this film. Some felt it strange to see this actor in a Star Wars movie or simply found it unexpected. The actor comments that the shooting was fascinating since much of the set was real as opposed to computer-generated. This film was almost like a tribute to the original 1977 movie, where much of the set and decorations already existed physically. The ships, the arms that were designed, had a weight, and when they released compressed air, that made it feel as if you had powered a real weapon. Although he says it was very difficult to act in English, his accent was very noticeable. But that was the main idea of director Gareth Edwards. What he wanted to represent with this film, with the group of rebels, people of different cultures, listening to different accents, the intention was to send that message, to see how this team of people, although they were different, if they united for a common end and set their differences aside, are capable of performing amazing things. As we have reached the end, we hope you tell us what you think of this video and if the information was entertaining. Remember to share this video and give it a like, and if it's within your means, please send your support in Patreon. No matter what the quantity is, it is so appreciated. Many thanks to all our Patreons who have already contributed for the support. See you soon!